It's 6 o'clock and welcome to KNDTV News this Saturday. And this is our leading story. Police Minister Bekicele said South African Police Services senior officers were roped in to track down the killers of Western Cape top cop Charles Kinnear. Kinnear was shot and killed outside his Bishop Levis home on Friday afternoon. The minister said that he discussed the incident with President Cyril Ramaphosa and stressed the seriousness of Kinnear's killing. Cele, who arrived in Cape Town this morning, said officers briefed him regarding the incident. He said he'll meet with National Police Commissioner Kehla Sithole to discuss the matter. Cele says if needs be, extra manpower will be brought in to assist the investigation. NSFAS said it plans to continue discussions with trade union NEHAWU in a bid to resolve the current wage negotiation deadlock between the two parties. NSFAS is a 35 billion rand state-funded support program for marginalized students. The union wants an 8% salary increase for workers, but the financial aid scheme offered a 4.3% increase. NEHAWU threatened to protest next week if it doesn't get its way, and the South African Student Congress said it will join the union in solidarity. However, SASCO's Butanani Tobela said they want a leadership overhaul at the institution, accusing current administrators of corruption. Meanwhile, NSFAS says it will seek guidance from National Treasury on its next move regarding salary increment demands at the institution. The Unemployment Insurance Fund has confirmed that temporary employer-employee relief scheme payments will resume on Monday. This after the latest suspension on the 11th of September. In a statement issued today, Acting UIF Commissioner Marsha Bronkhorst explained that payments for April, May and June will be issued on Monday and Tuesday. Thereafter, it plans to run payments from the 1st of July to the 15th of August from Wednesday to Saturday. Bronkhorst said they are aware that many workers around the country have been placed on a back foot as a result of the need to ensure that their systems stand up to scrutiny and they close the gaps identified by the Auditor General. TERS payouts have been marred by controversy and inconsistency, with payments being suspended a number of times. The ANC in Gauteng is expected to meet this weekend to consider the report by the Integrity Commission relating to the multi-million rand COVID-19 PPE tender. In its reports, the Commission found that Gauteng Health MEC Bandile Masuku failed to practice adequate oversight of the PPE contracts awarded by the department. Masuku, his wife Loyiso, and presidential spokesperson Kusela Diko's husband were implicated in the alleged fraudulently awarded tender. Also on the agenda will be the future of Masuku, his wife, and Diko. The PIC has reportedly made damning allegations against the trio, but the details of the findings are yet to be made public. It's also reported that Masuku wrote a letter to the PIC objecting to its findings and argued that the findings don't take into consideration the facts put before the PIC. And that is all for now from the news desk. I'll be back with the final bulletin at 7. For now, it's on to put Leicester.
Oh, thank you, Spoky. Welcome to Leicester on Saturday, and you are watching KNDTV. The news, as you read them out, they look very interesting. Yes. But I don't see the Andile sort of, I mean, this was the whole week almost.
Yes.
And we can say that this boy is really scared of prison.
He's actually very scared. And I was thinking, if you are really that scared, why do you commit such, acts? If you know that you are scared of prison, then he should have just, restrained himself, just to avoid
also
such.
The idea of him having, been fighting this thing over almost a year now. Whereas, I mean, I'm sure by now he would have been on parole or something.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was quite funny.
And to me, it seemed as if he would have wanted to opt for, house arrest. protest
Yeah.
because he was complaining about the food, the sleeping conditions, and the violence. Of course, it's prison. You should expect such things. He should have just, conditioned his mind, when
and then
he lost
went
the
on
appeal.
blaming the judges and all of that.
No,
I
but he
think it
spent
was
his
fine.
first night. I think it's going to be second night tonight.
Yeah, the
So no,
weekend,
he's fine. I think we've forgotten about it already.
But yeah, and then I see Gauteng is becoming serious about this thing. It looks like Bandile Masuku might have to take the blame for.
I think so. I think it's going to be
From the report, I mean,
Yes.
that's how it looks. Failed oversight.
oversight. Yes, yes.
Which I think, I mean, is probably they've already spoken to him and said, Fondin, we gotta have people answering for this.
Yes, and unfortunately, because
Yeah.
it came from a department, you might as well take the fall. It's sad, but there's so many people that benefited from from this COVID-19 PPE contracts. So I think everyone should be fairly treated. Everyone should be investigated. It can't just be a few, like a handful of people. I'm sure there's quite a lot of other
I'm sure.
suppliers.
You see, the other thing, I mean, this is what I've kind of been saying after the president spoke out, after the NEC meeting, that what you're seeing now is, I think, that the ANC is getting to a space where
Yes.
they need to be seen to be doing something about the corruption.
Of course.
And so, of course, there will be collaterals,
Yes,
in the
definitely.
process. And I think, I mean, we are seeing Andile Masuku and his wife. They are one of those people that.
Yes, unfortunately.
And then the Cape Town matter.
Oh, that is sad.
Charles Kinya. I think the brazen sort of, to go out there and kill, cops in daylight. And Cape Town is actually dangerous.
No, it is dangerous. And to think that he was heading the anti-gang unit. So obviously he was rattling
was
quite a few
assassinated.
cages, rattling a few cages. So obviously he was probably maybe getting too close to cracking a certain case. And those people didn't want, to be arrested or to be caught or whatever the reason might be. So surely maybe there were some cages rattled during those investigations.
And also creating fear, I think, in the process.
Yes.
Whoever is going to be taking the investigation now forward, I'm sure, I mean, you will be very fearful
Yes.
of carrying on with the case. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you, Spokey, for that. I think we'll
pleasure.
continue, when we do the final bulletin. But today, guys, we have an interesting show. So what we are going to be talking about, we touched on it on our Get Real show last week.
Yes.
One of the articles that came out last week about, the participation of black people in high management positions. It's only 15%, I think the article was suggesting.
Yes,
So
very
we then
small
thought,
percentage.
okay, let's have someone to talk to us about this. So we've got Nzwana Makaula, who's a former chairperson of BMF, which I thought, is very relevant for us
It
to
is.
be able to touch on this matter. And he's also an economist for the Eastern Cape Provincial sort of committee that deals with, the economy of the province, as it were. So we'll be navigating that whole sort of subject of how we can, even now after 26 years, I think for me that's what irks me about that particular article.
Yes, and it's such a slow growth. It's
Yeah.
so it's just standing still, basically. I mean, by now, surely we should have reached
And we are
at
the
least
majority
40%.
in this country,
if it was
Those
low.
things, for me, they really, there's something that needs to be done,
Yes.
and the government of the day needs to actually make some drastic measures and steps, to actually get us
Yes.
to the kind of equilibrium that we're looking for.
Also in the private sector, I think
Private,
that's where
I
it's
think-
mostly
yeah,
there. It's mostly
it's
there.
mostly there because I think the government is doing a great job.
Yes.
But when it comes to the government putting pressure on the private sector, that's where we are going to be. I think we see a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Yes.
So we'll take a break, and then after that, Mr. Nzwana Makaula will be here in the stage, and we'll talk about this. So don't go away, guys. It's Leicester on Saturday, and lots more to come.
KNR is on the pulse of local and international content, offering audiences an opportunity to be part of the global conversation in a fast-changing and increasingly digitized world of communication. Headquartered in East London, Eastern Cape, we broadcast nationwide and stream to the world. As the day breaks, Social crossover with Loza Wamvene touches the airwaves, pregnant with compelling content.
We talk about everything that you need to know in the morning. We will help you prepare for the day in a special way. KNR Aishishis Aina Media Masbeneting.
In an increasingly digitized and global economy, businesses and state entities are under pressure to stand out and create awareness about key offerings and new services. Now,
welcome back to Leicester on Saturday. I've got in the studio, as I said, Mr. Nzwana Makaula, and we are going to be talking about this article. I mean, welcome, Dot.
Thank you very much.
Unjani?
Ndiyaphila Nkosi, unjani wena?
Nandimnandi sibara khonto zimbi. Last week when we were doing the show, of course, reading Sunday papers, and then I came across this article, and I thought, it kind of makes one angry to actually read things like this.
Yeah.
In a country where we are almost 80% of black people in this country.
Correct.
If you combine everyone, the colors, the Indians, we are a little bit above 80%.
Yes, yes.
But we are only 15% black now, black people, only 15% that are in high management position. We've got the triple BEE and all of these other things that have been put up in place by the state to try and address, issues of the past and all of that. But it seems like we are not winning, when you look at the numbers. And I know of one guy who used to say to me, numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie. I agree with that.
So yeah, and I thought, no, let's find you and let's see, what we can, what your opinion of this, and what do you think actually should be done around this particular subject.
All right. Thank you very much, Lester, and
Yeah.
greetings to the viewers of the TV. Mm-hmm. Indeed, the article on the City Press, which was based on the CEE, the Commission for Economic Equity, Employment Equity, that was released recently, which was covering the period of 19 to 20.
For sure.
It is not telling a good story. Mm-hmm. There are no good news contained in that report. Not that there are good news contained in other report of transformation in this country, but we're going to get to that. I saw the article, which is a summary of that report that was released, as you have said. If we can take a step back before that, because that report compares 3 years.
Yes.
It compares 3 years. And if you can check the trends there is no greater improvement.
Yeah, the margins are too small.
The margins are too small.
Nothing to celebrate. Yeah.
Yes, and actually, in preparation to come here, I made some time to look back, to take a step back. So I bumped into many reports released by the same commission. I mean, if you look at the 2014-15 report, this is like 5 years ago. The margin, you said we are sitting in the top management at 15%.
15.6.
15.6. In 2014-15, we were sitting at 13.2%.
Oh, come on.
So the growth in 5 years of the black people in the top management has increased by just 1.6%.
Basically, yeah.
In 5 years. So you can take a step back and follow other reports. There hasn't been any satisfactory improvement in CEE reports at all. I mean, I saw even the previous minister, Minister Oliphant, has been complaining about the lack of progress in that space, and which has necessitated the amendment. There's an amendment now to try and foster that transformation. But again, this is not unique to South Africa.
Yes.
If you check the latest reports by International Labour Council, organization that is, it admits that in many countries, developed countries, first world countries, there is still, they reflect what we are seeing as South Africans.
Yes.
I mean, in America, their own commission there has reported that white males are still benefiting more than black males, irregardless of the skill and the education that one has. So if you're black, no matter how educated you are, it doesn't mean you'll automatically climb all the ladders in any corporate, even in America, which necessitated a movement. It's called hashtag Me Too. Hashtag Me Too.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yes,
Yeah, which is not highly detached from Black Lives Matter. So this seeks to paint a picture that South Africa, you are not alone. But now that other countries are facing the same problem, it doesn't mean we must be okay with it.
But isn't it for us? I mean, you know, when you juxtapose the two, let's make an example of America,
Yes.
where the majority there is white.
Yeah.
So it would be understandable that the needle hasn't moved that much because they still are, you know. But here, it's the opposite. The majority is black, and yet the beneficiation of the black community is not in the state or position where it should be.
When you should.
I mean, that should be a telling
Yeah,
thing.
it is. Okay, again, I would like us to take a step back. And when you look into the transformation as we hold our breath to see it in this employment, let's look in other sectors as well.
Yes.
So if you were, which you did, read the report and the article, and you were heartbroken, my question to you is, what were you expecting? I-transformation uyazela phi in South Africa? Kwayibona phi? Take me to any sector in this country alone. Take me to sport. There's still complaints of racism.
Cricket, it's been in
Cricket, same
limelight
thing.
big
We're
time.
talking about all the black players had a lot to say. This boy who's a fast bowler, who Ngidi.
Yeah.
Remember the uproar that was there when he supported Black Lives Matter. And it was a topic. The rugby, it was the same thing. When they were playing the World Cup, then they were celebrating. Then our very own rugby player was not part of them. There was also a talk. All those are the indication that there is an underlying field that needs to be given attention. Businesses, if you can look into the Triple BEE report. I looked at it, the latest report, which touches on what you said when you were speaking to Spoke during the opening of the show, that the businesses are also complaining. Triple BE report is telling us that of the 671 JSE listed companies, only 161 submitted reports because they need to be audited. Others, they did not comply. Then of those 161, only 63 were non-compliant. Then there's like 98 who were complying of the people that submitted reports. And when you look into the board representation, the margins are just shocking on who sits in the board in the JSE listed companies. The figures are just, they are out there. So when you look into the board of the JSE listed companies compared to the boards of the public entities, only there, which you were right earlier, that there is a better representation. For sure. And there's overwhelming representation by black professionals in those, in the black entities.
SOEs and all of that,
and so on and so forth. So there is that story. But before we cry about this current report, ask yourself the question, we are Zelapi transformation. And I think that should be the question that should bother us more. Because you can't expect a normal commission or a normal sector in an abnormal country.
For sure.
I am Ganjan.
And so what does this talk to? Does this talk to maybe lack of enforcement on the government? Because the laws are there. You know, in terms of there's a code, there are requirements that companies must move, you know, the needle in this direction. But seemingly, the companies, I mean, one of the actually sort of, you know, entities or commissions that's working very hard at the moment is Competition Commission, which has actually been going after companies. But we don't see that same kind of intensity when it comes to this side of pushing for equity to actually get to the space that it needs to get to.
Correct. Mr. Bonakele, who's the commissioner at the Competition Commission, has been very busy. You remember the scandals of hiking of prices, but they were fined for such a low money. I mean, they hike prices, they make almost 1 billion.
Yeah,
Then when you find them, you find them just above 1 million or 2 million. It doesn't make sense to me. They walked away anyway. You can't balance. How I wish bekuthiwa zonke entities zethu Nes Commission are emulating what we're seeing as visible of progress at Competition Commission.
Yes.
But you're not seeing it it cutting across. Another thing is, you spoke about the legislation and the laws. For us to analyze this scenario, let's look into 3 layers. We've got layer 1, which is where the foregrounding and the setting of the field, which is the legislation, promulgation, and so on and so forth. Layer 2, you've got the actual implementation, where you've got these companies that are expected to implement. Then the layer 3, it becomes the outcome, and so on and so forth. But when you look into that and try to see where is the problem, I wouldn't necessarily say the problem is more at layer 1, because the legislation are very clear. But when you look into layer 2, there is a gross negligence. The complaint by the commissioner in that report was non-compliance. Non-compliance is knowing the deadline and not submit a report. Not that you don't know what it is. You don't submit it because it's not gonna paint a good picture about you. So there is a gross negligence and non-compliant and non-submission of reports for companies to be verified and be seen by, are you meeting the requirements? BMF did a good thing not so long ago, engaging with the JSE, the governor. And because of those engagement, black representation has become a listing requirement in the JSE companies now. If you want to be listed there, how transformed are you in terms of how many black professionals that are a part of your management team, executive management team?
That's good. That's good. I mean, there was a time before Mr. Jimmy Manyi was all over the place, but in his era, this was highlighted very much in the BMF in terms of, the reports that would come often. And it's strange that even up until today, we're still complaining about the same sort of thing. But one of the parts that I want us to touch on is the part of, enforcement. Which I think, as you rightly said it, that layer 1, the grounding is there, the legislation is there, and the companies themselves know those legislations.
They know very well.
And even HR departments in companies, they actually know that the needle has to move on this. But for some reason, I do think, because HR in general is actually not listened to very well by companies, because it's operations, they are pushing for numbers and all of that. But they neglect this part. And then you have the enforcers, which is now the government, the commission that is supposed to make sure that the guys who must be fined, the reports if are not coming in. So what is happening in that space?
It's interesting because you don't hear much about it in terms of the consequences of not meeting the targets, of being non-compliant. It goes as far as the fines, as you have spoken about.
Yes.
And the fines are very friendly to these companies, because it's something that they're going to pay. If you can go back to the example we made about Discam. I mean, to be fined such a low money for you having robbed people so much money. I mean, I saw the prices going up of the masks in a space of a month or 2. After that, the prices went up, and you did not have a choice. The president said you must wear a mask for you to get out. So you were forced to go to those guys and buy a mask. It's a rip-off. It's crime. They should have been prosecuted. Ingapheleli only in you paying a fine. Let's take it to other companies as well. They know. Companies, they do know, but they decided to do the opposite. So I do believe that we need a very strong and with teeth body that is not only going to leave it at the fine level and you being exposed, but let's take it to a point where you can be delisted. Let's take it to a point where you cannot have investors, no potential investors. You must be out there to be known that you are undermining and looking down into the aspirations of this country. We will never be a transformed and a growing economy of this country. There's a lot of money that is being made, but if you can't divide so that we can all share, because it should be about that, it must be about that.
Yeah, I think, we'll take a break now, and then after the break, I want us to look into, part of the criterias that, companies maybe would use. Because you get, these awards that get given to these companies, the best employer. I wonder if they look at those things, issues of transformation, even on those companies, that you then become part of the best employer because you are also, progressing on this side as well. And also I want us to look at the issue of skills. Do you think that skills is an issue here, or just companies are refusing to transform? Let's take a break, and then after the break we'll come back.
Focus on you're doing this for family.
Why can't
KNR is on the pulse of local and international content, offering audiences an opportunity to be part of the global conversation in a fast-changing and increasingly digitized world of communication. Headquartered in East London, Eastern Cape, we broadcast nationwide and stream to the world. 9 to 12 is a continuation of compelling content which appeals to our diverse society. Lulu Harmans and Nels Diniso, the producer of the show, have something customized for you.
It is a lifestyle magazine show. We range from health to relationships, celebrating women on top. And of course, on Thursdays, we focus on tourism, especially in the Eastern Cape. We bring you Your Way. Friday, we do radio according to you.
In an increasingly digitized and global economy, businesses and state entities are under pressure to stand out and create awareness about key offerings and new services. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's do radio according to you.
Welcome back to Leicester on Saturday. Yeah, I've got Nzwana Makaula here, and we are touching on the subject, which I think is a very important subject, post-apartheid, where we are talking about black people being participants in the economy. And also, it's 25 years now, 26 years, and we have been kind of in the periphery for a very long time, but still we are in the periphery.
You still
Yeah. The issue of ownership is something that, if we are still scrambling just for management position,
Yes.
what about ownership?
Yeah, interesting. Again, BMF in one of the conferences, one of the themes of subject was the issue of ownership.
Yeah.
And a lot of interesting guests that were there just to discuss. Why? Because we can't really, I think it's unfair not to balance the efforts of wanting companies to transform as compared to the efforts of wanting people to be owners and run their own companies.
Yes.
So if this outweighs the second one, then we're going to have a problem. I don't think, but there were strides that were made by government.
Yes.
There was IPEP, there was a 9-point plan, there was Black Industrialist Program by President Zuma in 2015. 2 billion was pumped into that, and now I heard Minister Patel saying it's going to be 40 billion pumped into that, and the current minister is supporting those initiatives. The goal there is to instill ownership, because it's about getting qualified, competent entrepreneurs who are already running to run industries as well, pushing in manufacturing. There are sectors identified there. But if you look into those efforts, they've been existing for like 5 years now. Black Industrialist Program has been there. But when you look into the reports, because we need to check numbers after all. Sharp, we've pumped money, but how far have we gone? We need to look into the money that has been pumped in there. We juxtapose it with the current reports that we have. Go to States SA, go there. But as I have said earlier, if you look into the triple BEE reporting and look into the ownership there, you've got industries such as agriculture, it's very on the large companies, very low black ownership there. Talking about ownership. In all sectors of economy in South Africa, where large companies are operating, you don't have a 50% black ownership in all those sectors by large companies. It's the highest is around about 48, 49%. And it's not even agriculture and so on, it's just tourism and those sectors. So there is that as well. So all the initiatives towards getting black companies to participate in industries and be big, we must look at what are the numbers telling us. But the numbers as they are now, they are not telling a good story.
And I mean, the one thing, you know, people always, and this is, for me, I find this is, you know, as a scapegoat, they always complaining about skills, you know, black people. We don't have enough skills to do these things. But yet we know that, that it was the same thing when the Afrikaners took over the country, and then they created for themselves, you know, a system that will work for them, regardless of the fact that, you know, the black people are actually the people that they found in this country. But Tina, we soft. You know, because you know, by issues of, you know, human rights and humanity rights and all of those things. So do you think that, you know, the scapegoat of skills, do you think it holds? And then number two, the idea of the refusal, these companies, do you think that these companies are seriously refusing to push the gains of transformation, to make it a reality for black people, as it were?
Transformation cannot be championed by a white person who's running a big company. I think it's at the bottom of their list, if at all is in that list. Let us be very clear about that. On the skills, it's not a legitimate reason to say black people do not ascend to top management level because they are not skilled. I think that is nonsense, to be honest about it. The issue of ownership, we need to look at it in many ways. If you were owning a company you were running and owning your own company pre-1994, big company, and post-1994, then boom, there is an introduction of instruments such as these equities we're talking about. Then they are forcing you to make space for this guy who does not have employment but is skilled in your company that you own and run. Obviously, you've got your own interest and your priorities. You'll think it through. You can't. This guy, you might not necessarily prioritize this guy to come in your company. There's going to be a little bit of resistance on your side, understandably. That's why I said earlier, the efforts to force you to employ this guy, who after 1994 doesn't have a company,
for sure,
must be juxtaposed with the efforts of getting this guy to own, where these Black Industry Program are coming into play. So I think we need to give more weight on the getting more people to run. But another example, if I may, just to pause there, because this conversation we're having is high level. It's very abstract to other people. Let's take it down. I always ask myself a question. I've got some ridiculous question I often ask myself when I engage on other economic matters with friends of mine. Ask yourself one question. Why does Shoprite, Checkers, all these retail companies, because they're selling groceries, why are they allowed to sell alcohol? Why are they allowed to have a liquor store, as in their outlet attached to them? Why do you allow them to sell cooked food? I know that there might be black people running franchises, but Oksalayo, they are extending the legacy whoever started Shoprite.
Yes.
So my view is you need to de-isolate those.
Okay.
Have someone who's running a bottle store and stick there. I know if someone else who's going to have a butchery, stick there. Have someone who's going to sell cooked food, a restaurant, because they're killing a restaurant. So we need to divide beneficiation.
Yes.
I know other people are doing it for convenience. It makes business. But at the stage in which our country is at, and the impacts of the COVID-19 to the economy of this country, it's still going to be very hard for people to find employment, start and run their own businesses. The report does not incorporate the impacts of the COVID-19. Other companies have run down, they've shut down for good.
Yeah.
So if these results in the report are alarming, wait for the report on 2021. The picture is still going to be...
it's going to be worse.
Yes.
Yeah, I can imagine because, I mean, for instance, I mean, I've been in retail for most of my life. And for some reason, if you look at retail, as black people, it's not a space that we operate in terms of ownership.
Yes.
Yet there are many people employed, black people in that space, and of course most of them, at the lower levels and all of that, not at the high levels in the manner that it should be.
Yes.
And I think when you look at that example of an industry, it's an industry. Ultimately, it don't matter who you are.
Yes.
Ultimately, you need groceries. You're gonna need to go and buy toiletries and all of that.
Yes.
And yet, the one thing that we seem to pump when government speaks of businesses, we talk tenders.
Yes,
Which those things we know it's. I mean, when you think of it, tenders, in that space,
Yeah.
And even white people come into that space.
Most definitely.
And some of them have got more muscle, and we know some of the things that are
Especially
happening
in construction
in that space. Yeah.
level.
So how can we then, create an environment that says to us as black people, look,
Yes.
Even retail is a space that you can operate in.
Yes.
We've got people in mining, banking.
Yes.
Is a space that black people can operate in.
Yes.
But all of these things that's where white people are creating almost a wall, so to speak.
Yes.
You can operate, but only at the bottom of the.
Yeah.
I mean, so how do we change that outlook?
Yeah, there are many ways in which we need to look at it.
Yeah.
And we don't need to, we mustn't be sensitive about it.
Yeah.
Ayizosinceda into yobana hlezi khala, kwenziwele, so what?
Yeah, sure.
I think we need to be deliberate and be decisive and take action. Let's go. I'm going to give you very basic examples on how I think we must go about it. I'm going to work for many departments as people.
Yeah.
Observe this in many government departments. Let's say you're a senior manager, you go to 3 meetings, 4 meetings per day.
Yeah.
And each and every meeting you enter into boardroom, there's a bottle of water for you. You open it, it's a bottle of water. And I have a problem when that bottle is written Aquel or Valpre, because I know that water is not bottled in this province.
Yes.
Do you want to tell me, in the Ogba, we cannot have district-based bottling companies and provincial government decide that any money we spend on water, we buy it in from these district bottling companies. Sifuna ntoni kwi-Valpre ne-Aquele ebhokilishwe ngapha e-KZN. So I argued in one of my articles that other provinces must not be allowed to be exceedingly well off at an expense of other provinces and their own people.
Yes.
We need to promote industry. We have a technical division of industry participation.
For sure.
That if this province processes, that province's plows and give to that province pushes work and so on and so forth. It's unacceptable to get so much money on the social grants. One of the biggest districts are some in Bizana.
Yes.
A lot of money that is coming to this province. But if you check Umtamvuna, between what divides KZN and Eastern Cape, their big trucks are always coming to Bizana.
Yeah.
They are bringing food, they're bringing everything else. So I think we need a deliberate effort in all spheres. It must be deliberate. Get people to participate in that space. There's nothing wrong in saying there's 350 grant for unemployed people.
Yeah.
Why? That's government money, right? Government can start where they've got an influence. They've got an influence in what they have.
Yes.
Said, okay, now that we've given you this 350, we are giving you a list of shops you can go buy into. And these shops must benefit. We must use the buying power of people. Buy black. Let that be a government effort. However, it becomes difficult because South Africa, you've got a nationally crafted policy that provinces needs to plug into.
For sure.
If we can get provinces to have a space of authority and have policies that are going to fit into that province, maybe we can start to get somewhere. Open a supermarket, call it whatever, And black people must support you, but don't have a mediocre service, because sometimes we do encounter that. By black, you support umtasa, umtasa, uhleli pha ulindile, akho service, there's poor customer service at the reception and all that jazz. But Nati, let's pull up our socks.
Yeah. I think that subject on its own is a big subject,
Yes.
Nzwana, because I'm very familiar with what you are saying, and it's one of the things I'm passionate about in terms of us as black people. I mean, that tendency is there everywhere you go.
Yes.
But it's certainly in when, you know, a white person comes, hi, and puti uyamfuna plastic, you know,
Yes.
not the same enthusiasm. So those things is things that we need to work on.
Yes, yes.
But I mean, before we close, so that we get to the next guest, I like what you were saying in terms of, you know, us being deliberate.
Yes.
You know? And I think this is a stance that the government needs to take. Not just, I mean, uthetha ngemthatha. Sometimes people, when I speak of this side of the province, people don't know this is a gold mine. Mthatha, Transkei is a gold mine.
They will know if Mercedes-Benz can take their motors and go.
Yeah.
And VW, they will know that Mthatha can be, East London will be poorer than Mthatha if you can remove this Mercedes-Benz.
No, that side, I mean, I respect the Transkei area. It is a gold mine. There's a lot of money there. And there's a lot of things that we can do as a province to actually, you know, make that side become a hub, an economy hub on its own.
Yes.
So what is it, you know, as we close, Mr. Makaula, that you can say to the people who are listening and to government maybe to advise on us to move the needle a little bit faster, and you know, and let's, by the time we see this report again, of course next year, as you had said it earlier on, it's not going to change that much because of the corona and all of that.
Yes,
but definitely there needs to be something that moves here.
Yeah. First and foremost, there are projects that were delayed and others did not even take place.
Yeah.
And other projects were delayed by the community people. There is a growing evidence that a project can cost more than it was intended, just because the community people where the project is being done are resisting it.
Yes.
And when you zoom close, it's easy. They'll say, you can't come with your own people here and employ. We want to be employed here. We need to feel included. And that speaks into an overall planning approach we're using, the economic planning approach. Asinobagqibela abantu.
Yes.
We need an inclusive planning. You need to marshal people in so that they can know. Government attempted, though, in the early 2000s when kwakusenziwa kwaqala program kuthiwa zi-community development workers.
Yes.
They are meant to interface between the government and the community so they can bring people on. But I don't think we're where we should be. They are not as considered as we should, because they should sit in board meetings, engage Batete Naban.
Yeah.
So I would enforce and encourage government to consider that program, strengthen it, because it's your interface with the people.
Yeah.
Get everybody in that space. On the other side, we need to be decisive as people. Let's think on our own, because it's our money after all.
Yes.
We give them money, then we complain that buyers share. If we can control and decide where we take our buying power, because there's nothing stopping you deciding where you want to buy.
Yeah.
So I think let's get people in our mindset. People, we ought to have heard a socialization, a conscientization program after 1994, because there was alienation of the human spirit and condition. It is for that reason that you see them giving different treatment to a white person and a black person.
Yeah.
They're still resorting on violence for them to be heard, because people were taught how to strike, how to petrol bomb cars and buildings. They're still using that culture into today's world. People ought to have been given conscientization so that we can fight against the alienation of the human condition and spirit. Then it foregrounds anything and everything that we do. So those are the areas that we can focus into. My last words, I would say nothing is impossible. We just need to be decisive. People must remember that not everything faced can be changed.
Yes.
But nothing changed until it is faced.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Makaula, for that. And I think this debate is an ongoing one. When we find time again, we will not hesitate to call upon you, and maybe bring someone else as well to expand on this. Right. We'll take a break. We have another guest coming. He is a member of Men's Parliament, and we'll be touching on the subject, that is coming now on the Men's Parliament. We know, GBV has been one of the problems that the country has been facing. So we will seek to see what are the plans on the Men's Parliament and what is it that they are actually working on to actually change, the prevailing circumstances that are, hitting our young girls and our young women, as it were. So after the break, we'll continue with Mr. Palezweni. Don't go away.
KNR is on the pulse of local and international content, offering audiences an opportunity to be part of the global conversation in a fast-changing and increasingly digitized world of communication. Headquartered in East London, Eastern Cape, we broadcast nationwide and stream to the world. Your space is invaded by Piwetsiba between 12 and 3 p.m. Not in a bad way. Piwe brings calmness to your day.
What we do is to try and get busy and we strive for development and also to grow you because it is educational at the same time fun things, because I do know sometimes we just want to let our hair.
In an increasingly digitized and global economy, businesses and state entities are under pressure to stand out and create awareness about key offerings and new services. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's do radio according to you.
Welcome back to Leicester on Saturday. So I have another guest here in the studio. He's got 3 girls that sing beautifully. I enjoyed and I've worked with one of them. So we come a long way, so we know each other. But we are talking about something different today. Mr. Palezweni kunjani namhlanje ke?
Ayi siyaphila ma. Ndisoloko ndisithi ke xa ndichaza ndithi kungcono kunayizolo.
Kungcono kunayizolo.
Ngoba basinaba nethemba uba namhlanje kuzaba ngcono kunayizolo singafa.
Yeah, hayi kunjani.
So soloko sijonge phambili sisithi ngomso kuzaba ngcono kunamhlanje. Namhlanje kungcono kunayizolo.
Not ezampilo zakudala kuthiwa sibhityele ebhlukweni.
Sifuna ubhitya sifuna utyeba.
Mr. Palezweni, we've been kind of been sought by this whole mess of gender-based violence, and I know that in the Men's Parliament, you guys are doing a great job there to try and conscientize Madoda. That Madoda, we need to, grab a hold of this thing. We need to change the picture, as it were. So what is it that we can say at the moment, just your feeling about what you've been hearing before we go deeper into the Men's Parliament and the program ahead?
Yeah, Pralista, what we've seen and what I've observed personally is that more and more men are joining the struggle.
Yes.
Against gender-based violence and femicide.
Yes.
You'll also might have seen that there are even men who are composing songs.
Wow, yes.
That are talking against gender-based violence. You'll remember a song that it's been making rounds, it's become popular, a song that says, Madoda Mamelani.
Yes.
It's a clarion call to men to say, we need to do something about this, we need to change. And more and more men are speaking out.
Yes.
Some men that are speaking out are men who have been abusers. Some men who are speaking out are even men who have even killed their spouses and, been in jail, served their time, and are very remorseful and are now doing something about it to make sure that, our boys and other men don't fall into that trap. And I've also been counseling men who have been having, problems, especially during the lockdown period. I can highlight a story of one man who called me, and his wife called me. They said, we need help. The man, just out of the blue, there was love at home, everything, they were happy. And he just heard a voice that was telling him, kill this woman because she's doing something else with someone else somewhere. Out of the blue. And there were no, there was no reason for that.
Yeah.
And the man got help, and he's happy now. He is staying with his wife, and the wife would wake up in the middle of the night, and the man would be standing on top of him. So what is actually happening is that there are a lot of forces that are occupying the space. You know, if men just need to take a stand and have roots, because most men that we have are not rooted. If they living their lives the cultural way, they don't know the exact life that they think that they're living.
Yeah.
They are not rooted in what they believe in. Even those that are on the Christian side, on the faith side, even they themselves are not rooted in what they believe in. They're not practicing what they preach. But we're getting there. Yeah.
When you speak lockdown, one of the things that was kind of amazing, we spoke about it as well last week on the show. I did read an article, lockdown, this comes to mind as well, that a lot of divorces also came out of this period of the lockdown. Now that, some couples are coming out and there's divorces left, right, and center as a result of this, because people are staying now in a space where they were not used to stay together, and though married, but this thing, it's just very strange. I mean, whereas the other people have actually, the families have come together and they've actually bonded, but most families have also disintegrated in this time.
The biggest problem that I've seen there was that during the lockdown period was the period where people were able to find themselves.
Yes.
People didn't know who they are. It goes back to what I was saying.
Yeah.
To say that people are not rooted. People don't have roots. Any tree that doesn't have roots that are going down, when the storms come and the rain comes, that tree is going to fall or it's going to be washed away. People started finding themselves and knowing who they are, and started to know who they think they are married, who they were thinking that they're married to. Then they found out that, no, this is not the person. This is not the right person for me, or this is not the person that I married. That is why we have, for instance, initiatives.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to highlight one that we're going to have now. We're going to have a dialogue on the 21st of, that is Monday.
Yes.
A dialogue where we've put together a group of people who are, who have been out and saying that we, no to gender-based violence. We are going to do something about it. We've got, speakers that are going to speak about this topic. If I can mention some, Ndando Yola, who's the national chairperson of the men's sector in the South African National AIDS Council. He's going to be one of the speakers. He's going to speak on Monday. Honorable Libo Koboshian, the Deputy Speaker of the Cape Legislature, is going to speak on that day. And Maungo Dolo Machobeni, who's part of the LGBTQIQ community and the total shutdown, she's going to speak as well. And Honorable Nongaba Konsiwa will be speaking, as well as Honorable Fanta, who is who's also at the Eastern Cape Legislature as the chairperson of the Women's Caucus. So, and one of the managers in the office of the Premier will be facilitating Ms. Wakaba. That's just about one of the initiatives that we are busy with. We also have got a couple of programs, as men. We've got a men championing change program that we are doing, and also a boys championing program. We are saying that we need to have a balance. You might have seen that there's been programs that have been focused on girls, and while boys, boys were being left aside and being ignored. And we've partnered with the National Department of Social Development on that. So we are saying, whilst we are speaking to men who are grown up to say let's do this, let's change, let's treat women decently, let's give women their place in society. We are also equally teaching young men on how to coexist with young girls, because that's the problem.
Yeah.
I was saying to one man, you know, we used to sleep in one bed with our cousins when we were growing up. We wouldn't be having clothes, maybe we'd be sleeping without underwears, but we didn't rape our cousins. Because we were taught, we were brought up to respect them and to treat them as our sisters, even the neighbors. But now that does not happen. So there's a lot that is going on that we need to fix.
I'm very passionate about this part, because sometimes, most of the time, when you hear people talk about the gender-based violence and especially feminists, there's a tendency of throwing a blanket approach that, culturally, men have been, coached into treating women as inferior. And when I think to my background, that was never the case, even chores. I mean, you didn't have women do this. I mean, if funeka kitchen, we are a kitchen. If we garden, you are a garden. So,
exactly.
So I think that those are some of the things that we need to kind of, demystify and move out of the way in terms of what is happening at the moment.
Exactly. Fortunately, I've brought my son with me today.
Yes.
And he knows every morning it's me who cooks for them in the morning. I cook pap for them, porridge pap for them. I cook most Sundays. It's me who cooks in my house. I even wash dishes in my house, because that's how I was brought up. The socialization patterns have somehow created monsters in our community, but there are good men. There are good men who have been brought up, and we are bringing up our own kids the same way. He knows he's got his days where he washes dishes, but he knows that the garden is also waiting for him. He also knows that he has to go and wash the dogs. So that's how we were brought up. That's why we are the good men that we are today. Because it's one of the things that is not highlighted. Men are really being painted with the same brush, but they are good men. For instance, we've got a program that we are running where we are saying that there should be role models. We've got all kinds of programs where we are trying to highlight and say there are good men out there, but equally we're not making excuses to the men who are still doing these things. To men who are monsters, we are saying that we are going to go after you, and we are going to make sure that you face the might of the law.
No, it's true, man. No, ndiyabulela, Mr. Palezweni. I think ixesha lethu seliphela ngoku, the news is around the corner. But you're saying on Monday you have this dialogue that is happening. And I like, the things you're highlighting. Yazi ngicinga, ama-olate, kukhona umuntu oqashiweyo for uhlamba impahla, but kuthiwe impahla zikalungelo nobongani ungazihlambi. Thina sahlambele impahla. So that's how we grew up. But I think it's very important, to actually highlight and make sure that not all is lost, that there are men out there, and even equally so, the men who seem to think that akuthethwa ngabo, it is really a call to you as well to say, no, we know you're doing good and all of that, but be part of the activism around this thing.
Because if you're not doing anything about it,
you are part of it.
If you don't say no to rape, and if you don't do something about it, then you're part of it.
You're complicit, definitely. No, siyabulela, Mr. Palezweni. We are about to go to the break, and then what's going to happen? Uspoki will be coming back with the 7 p.m. news, and then the show will end after that. Enkosi kyani ngokuza.
Siyabulela, bra.
Ubulise pha emantombini.
KNR is on the pulse of local and international content, offering audiences an opportunity to be part of the global conversation in a fast-changing and increasingly digitized world of communication. Headquartered in East London, Eastern Cape, we broadcast nationwide and
And this is the final bulletin here now on KNDTV News, and this is the leading story. The South African Defence Force today condemned a recent shooting of a civilian in Limpopo. The soldier was charged with attempted murder and arrested following his appearance in the Moribeng Magistrates Court on Friday. The 29-year-old soldier was arrested earlier this week after he allegedly shot and wounded a civilian accused of flouting lockdown regulations. It is understood that SANDF members were monitoring COVID-19 compliance at a local shopping center in the Capricorn district when they approached a group of people who were not wearing face masks. SANDF spokesperson Captain Jaco Tennyson said the scuffle ensued and the 27-year-old reached for the soldier's rifle and was subsequently shot in the thigh. The nationwide lockdown has seen both the SANDF and the SAPS being criticized for their heavy-handedness and brutality towards citizens in enforcing regulations. While police have been tight-lipped on their investigation into the murder of an anesthetist, Dr. Abdullah Munshi, the slain doctor's family today said they would not rest until justice prevailed. Munshi was gunned down in Orange Grove earlier this week. His death sparked outrage in the healthcare community. His cousin and family spokesperson Ghulam Hussain called for swift action against those involved. The 57-year-old doctor was a co-accused in a medical negligence case alongside Dr. Peter Beale. The pair were charged with culpable homicide following the death of 10-year-old Zayen Sayed. The High Court in Johannesburg has ordered Eskom to pay 40 million rands to construction company Aveng for its work on a rail yard and coal offloading facility at Majuba Power Station in Mpumalanga. Aveng, which was awarded the contract in 2013, lodged the claim earlier this year after Eskom refused to comply with the instruction of an independent adjudicator that it should hand over the disputed amount. Eskom disputed liability for the payment, saying making it would contravene an agreement with Aveng that it was conditional on Treasury approval and compliance with the utility's internal corporate governance processes. It said the adjudicator Ian Massey was not told about the full terms of the agreement, but Judge J.J. Reneker disagreed and ordered Eskom to pay Aveng 40 million rands plus interest and the construction company's legal costs. Botswana's former leader, Ian Khama, says the people of Zimbabwe have shown tremendous resilience in the face of a brutal regime. Khama says the neighboring country is in crisis, adding that 40 years after independence in Zimbabwe, the only thing that's changed is the name of the country and leaders. Khama took part in a meeting to discuss the situation in the southern African nation. The webinar also tried to chart a way forward. Recently, an ANC delegation met with the ruling party's ZANU-PF in an attempt to find a permanent solution in Zimbabwe. That is all from the news desk, and it's back to Lester.
Yes, thank you, Spooky. Lando, last week, I mean, the ANC delegation, Excellency Flight, Gahulman. It's very strange how Malema responded to that.
It is.
You know, I think everyone was expecting that Malema would be outraged. And,
yes.
You know, he would go all out, but he said, no, the ANC must
just invoice them.
It's very strange. I mean,
yes.
Because I think rightly so, he's highlighting that it is a matter that needs to be attended.
Of course.
Because the Zimbabwean matter continues to be a pain in the, South African economy.
It is. And remember also he's got a soft spot for Zimbabwe as well.
And the 40 million, Those guys.
I don't know where they're going to get that money.
Abamnandi, those guys. So the judge worked in their favor.
Yes.
So what else do you think, this week for you was a highlight besides what you've put out in the news? What was the highlight for you this week?
For me, in general, I think, with the level 1, coming into action, for me, in terms of business, yes, it's good.
Yeah.
However, I think people are becoming more careless in terms of not complying with the COVID-19 regulations, the wearing of masks and so forth, and the gatherings and so forth. So I think for me, that was a highlight. It's a good thing, although it might have come a bit late because so many businesses have been affected, but it is a way forward,
Yeah, I suppose tomorrow, people are looking forward to Monday, the level 1, and the traveling internationally also.
That is scary, though.
Yeah, but there have been some precautions in some countries that have been put out on the list. So I think, for me, the one thing about the economical side of it is that really the economy needs this injection. But at the same time, we need to tell our people, guys, you still need to wear your mask, you still need to sanitize, everything. COVID is not over yet, it's still with us.
It is.
So that's the one thing that needs to, but also the sad news that happened yesterday, I think, in Sweetwater. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
that a tavern was petrol bombed, and then 6 people died in that tavern.
Yes, I did see that article.
I think it's, condolences to those families, and I think we need to continue to condemn such, issues that are happening in our communities. We're fighting a different pandemic, and then we have these things that are happening. And the worst part for me, still, our black people, we're still killing each other. Those things need to come to an end, guys.
It is sad. It's very sad. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And then also, I think we need to, highlight the passing of Mr. Monde Temba Tabata, condolences to his family. We had a nice show with him.
Yes, last year. I think it was last year when he was in the
it was last
studio.
year. Fairs was there as well.
I remember.
We had a great time. So now he's no more. And I think, rugby also has paid tribute to him.
It has.
So I think we
very beautiful
really
article.
We really, I know him from Sky days, but he's a great fellow, and he's been, a great contributor to this country, not only in our province, but to the country as a whole. So condolences to his family. And as Leicester on Saturday and the whole team of KNDT, we say, RIP to Monde Tabata. This is the end of the show. Spooky, what are your last words?
You're going to sing for us.
No. Hey. I saw the so not today.
To all our viewers, thank you very much for tuning in every Saturday, and stay safe and have a blessed evening.
Yeah, and same here, guys. And next week on the 24th of this month is Heritage Day, so enjoy your heritage. And there is a challenge that's been put out by the president.
We should actually,
I don't know. But we'll need practice, a lot of practice for me. So you guys enjoy the week ahead, and have a beautiful weekend. Tomorrow, don't forget, Get Real with Leicester. I have a legend in the studio tomorrow from up in Tanzania, so he'll be with us, and we'll talk about his journey. So for now, have a beautiful evening. Niziphathe kakuhle bethuna.
Thank you.